What does it really take to change a town's whole destiny? Is it just one massive project, or is it something else? Like a whole bunch of smaller things all clicking into place at the exact same time? Today, we're diving into the story of San Pedro, a port town in LA, and exploring how a series of events that all happened on one single day, January 29th, 2026, ended up signaling this huge transformation that was, believe it or not, decades in the making. So to really get where San Pedro is heading, you first have to understand where it's been. And for a long, long time, it's basically been stuck in a state of waiting. This quote right here from a story about a local family restaurant, it just perfectly nails that feeling. For half a century, the promise of this amazing revitalized waterfront was always just around the corner, always coming soon. And that right there is the big question at the heart of this whole thing. What actually happens when all that waiting finally stops? What does it look like when all those promises, all of that pent-up hope, finally come together in a single jam-packed 24-hour period? Yeah, this whole idea of waiting, it wasn't just some minor annoyance. It kind of became a core part of San Pedro's identity. This was a town of artist renderings and grand promises, a community that was always looking ahead to a future that felt like it was just a little bit out of reach. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. 50 years. People literally built their entire lives and careers around a future they were told was right there, but it never quite showed up. That kind of long-term anticipation really shapes a place, you know? It creates this deep mix of unending hope and, well, some pretty understandable skepticism. But then, on January 29th, the proof started piling up that the story was finally, truly changing. So, how did this new chapter kick off? Well, our first piece of evidence is Warehouse 9, this huge venue at the Crafton Marketplace that was, on this very day, reintroducing itself to the whole community. And listen, this was way more than just a new sign on the door. It was a total shift in philosophy. Okay, what's so cool about this is the change in strategy. See, the old place, Brewery West, could only sell what they brewed themselves. But Warehouse 9, they got a brand new license that lets them sell a whole bunch of different drinks based on what people actually want to drink. It went from being just a brewery to a super flexible, family-friendly community spot. And that's the real kicker here. The focus totally shifted from the product to the people. And you can see exactly how they're putting that new philosophy to work. I mean, look at this list. They're not just sitting around waiting for people to show up for a beer. They are actively creating reasons for the community to come together. You've got trivia nights, live music, a music festival, cultural celebrations, business expos. They're programming this space to be the living, breathing heart of the community. And boom, here it is. On that one specific day, January 29th, Warehouse 9 had its official ribbon-cutting ceremony. It was this big symbolic reopening that really kicked off a day that was just going to be packed with huge news. Okay, so new stuff is great, but that's only half the story, right? Real change is also about rediscovering and honoring the past. And on the exact same day, another incredible story was unfolding. One about family, legacy, a historic building, and a name that hadn't been seen in San Pedro for almost 40 years. This is the story of the Trani family and their restaurant, the Majestic. It all starts way back in 1925 with a pool hall. Then it gets caught up in those same waterfront redevelopment promises in the 70s. And then poof, the name just vanishes. For decades, it was just a memory. And then in 2026, a fourth-generation chef, Dustin Trani, decided it was time to bring it home. This quote from Dustin, man, it just gets right to the heart of it all. This wasn't just about opening another restaurant for him. It was about finding the perfect place for a piece of his family's soul. He wasn't just bringing back a brand. He was resurrecting a legacy in a building his great-grandfather would have walked right past 100 years ago. And how amazing is this little detail? The new Majestic is literally built from the old. They actually took these marble slabs from the building's original steam room, a room his own ancestors might have used, and turned them into the dining tables. People are literally eating their dinner off of the building's history. It's just such a powerful physical link to the past. All right, so we've got a renewed community space and a reborn piece of local history. But on January 29th, the news got even bigger. I'm talking about the kind of massive construction that physically reshapes a town's skyline and its future. So what's the deal with this number, 281? Well, on January 29th, it was announced that a huge new project called Jules San Pedro was officially a go. And 281? That's the number of brand new apartments it's bringing to the San Pedro Waterfront Arts District. This isn't just a drawing or a plan anymore. It is happening. And just look at what's coming with it. We're talking an 8-story building with all the modern stuff you'd expect. A rooftop deck, a huge co-working space, EV charging stations. This is such a clear signal of the kind of modern, vibrant, and dense community that is finally being built here. Of course, with new places to live, you need new places to go. And the lineup of restaurants announced for the massive West Harbor Waterfront development is seriously impressive. We're talking about the very first LA spot for San Diego's famous Mike Hess Brewing, a Michelin-recognized taco spot from Tijuana, and a whole bunch of other amazing food concepts. This is the kind of culinary talent that really turns a neighborhood into a destination. Okay, new buildings are cool, but what about investing directly back into the people and the groups that make a community what it is? Well, don't worry, January 29th delivered on that front too, and in a really big way. Check out this number. This represents a record-breaking investment. On that very same day, the Port of Los Angeles announced it was awarding $1.85 million in community grants to local nonprofits. And that money isn't just going to one place. It's being spread far and wide. As you can see here, the funding is going to support 47 different organizations. So this isn't just one giant check to one group. It's a real investment across the entire fabric of the community. And here are just a handful of them. We're seeing support for everything from youth programs at the Boys and Girls Club, to environmental work with International Bird Rescue, to preserving local culture with the Grand Vision Foundation. This is money that's going to directly impact the quality of life for everyone who lives there. This quote from Dustin Trani again, it just perfectly ties a bow on everything that happened on January 29th. The ribbon cutting, the groundbreaking, the grants, all the restaurant announcements, they all point to the same incredibly powerful conclusion. The whole idea of San Pedro is changing, from a place you just drive through to a place you drive to. San Pedro's story on that one single day really shows us that a turning point isn't just about new buildings. It's about a community reinvesting in itself, honoring its own history, and finally, after all those decades of waiting, building the future it was always promised. And it really leaves us with this one fascinating question. What does it truly take for a community to not just build a new future, but to actually rewrite its own past?